Right, next up we've got Paul from Orion. Paul's going to talk about customers and stakeholders. I mentioned to my daughters I'm coming here today. My youngest teenage daughter is very interested in science and engineering, very inquisitive. She said, oh, there's someone talking about customer stuff. That's really easy. When I plug my iPad in, I just want it to work. If it ever stops working, I want the power to come on straight away, and I want it to be cheap as chips. So Paul's going to tell us how to deal with my daughter.
All right. I need to warn you that I actually don't have any graphs. So I hope that's okay. Talking about customer expectations. So the way I think about it is customer expectations is about perceived value. And one of the things to remember in recent times is that customer expectations have changed significantly. And if you look at some of the icons in this picture, you'll recognize devices, connectivity, cloud, those sorts of areas. And what that's done is that's created a fundamental shift that means the power and the control has very much shifted towards our customer. And that's something we need to take on board. Equally, you'll know, because you're in the thick of this field, but technology is changing faster than it ever was, slower than it ever will. And that's something that we've got to make sure that we have our head around all of the time. And so for us, exceeding customer expectations is making sure that we're ahead on that value curve. When we think of customers, this is the bit that keeps me awake at night. I sit there going, what is it that we really don't know? We don't know. Because the things that we can work on, and I've seen some of those in the last couple of presentations, like you're all smart people, you can work through all of those things and you can do models, etc. Great. But what are the things that we just don't know we don't know? Because that puts us in the scary place. What are the unforeseen technology leaps? And in particular, can we adapt quickly enough? And will our customers see us as prepared? And have we made the right investment choices? And I'd have to say that in my role and the roles I've been in previously, this is actually the bit that makes it most fun. Yeah, it's easy to see us as a monopoly. You notice I chose the Wellington vision, but it's easy to see us as a monopoly, and it's easy for other people to see us as a monopoly. But I never think about it like that, because one of the things I'm pretty sure it does is, from a customer perspective, it constrains thinking. And I like to ask questions like this. What if we woke up tomorrow morning and found that these things all connect wirelessly to each other, even across properties and across communities? And I know that you'll all want to jump up now and restate the laws of physics to me and those sorts of things. But actually, it wasn't about that. It's just saying, okay, just pretend for a minute that there are impacts like this that might suddenly arise. Because the questions I have that suddenly start to get generated is, okay, so what would be different? What would it mean for our network? What would it mean for our business? And importantly, what would it mean for our customers? And what opportunities might arise for our customers out of that? Because the question I would keep asking in my role is, could we continue to deliver value for customers in a world that changed that quickly? And I draw a parallel with bus networks. I once sat in the office of a gentleman who ran a bus network, a traditional bus network. And I said to that gentleman, I said, look, this is how I see it. What you need to understand is where everybody is that wants to go somewhere and where it is that they want to go to. Not where they got off, where they want to go to. And then what you just need to do is you just need to flex your network and make sure that you can accommodate all of those. And if you do that for every customer, they'll think you are hugely valuable. Now, I'm pretty sure that day he just looked at me and went, I need you to get out of my office. He didn't want to think about it like that at all. But if you think about it, that's exactly the Uber model. So we ask questions about why public transport struggles in places like Christchurch, but to be fair, a kind of technology leap jumped past it, and we haven't appreciated how we continue to deliver that customer value. So how in Orion are we continuing to ensure that we will deliver customer value? The secret is to make sure that you're listening and you're understanding, and that's what we're trying really hard to do. So we're listening to our customers, understanding what it is that they need in order to perceive value from Orion. And so we're starting some conversations with our customers. And just recently, we've been through some what we call powerful conversations workshops with our customers, where we're taking ideas that we're working on and we're making sure that we have those first-hand conversations with our customers. Here's a scenario where we're talking about what the possible changes to planned outage scenarios in our industry. What does it mean for people if outages were shorter, longer, less of them, more of them? Making sure that we've actually got that right, not sitting back and thinking what works for us, but actually do we really understand what it means for our customer? Here we're testing some conversations about what's in our AMP and making sure that people understand the choices we've made around our investments. What do they think about those investments? Are we investing in the things that they see are important? Questions like safety, resilience, reliability, and are we investing enough in the future technologies? We've got a customer advisory panel. These people represent areas such as rural, urban, residential, those that are energy poor, those that are energy rich, youth, and so on, to make sure that we've got a cross section. And again, we test what we're doing with this group quite regularly. We take that feedback, we put it into the decision making, we have it Orion. And then what are we doing ourselves back in the office? Well, one of the things we're doing at the moment is we're going through and we're testing every interaction that we have with a customer. And we're not too worried about the definition of customer, because in simple terms, if you're providing something to somebody by way of a service, product, or whatever, it's just easy to see them as a customer. So we're testing every one of those interactions. We're making sure, and we're doing that across, by the way, contractors, stakeholders, internal customers, external customers. And we've started out by mapping those interfaces. And we're going through a baseline maturity model, understanding where we're at in terms of our maturity in delivering customer experience. We're attaching some personas to that. So we're starting to think about not just simple parts of simple groups of our customers like business and residential, etc., but actually different people in the way they consume electricity from us, or the way they may be generating electricity with us in the future. And we're taking a really close look at what that entire customer journey looks like. And the reason we're doing that is we're really focused on a journey which is to discover, simplify, digitize, and automate. Because when we really understand what our customers are after, we're pretty confident we can deliver a high level of value. And this photo here is actually, the team had been working on that project, taking some of our board through it just recently. I know you won't be able to read this, and it's nearly a graph. But what we've got is here, this is the sort of output we're looking for a single customer journey. It illustrates and captures all of the touch points, and in this case, at the very top, you can see it's what happens when somebody who interacts with us goes through the process of getting a close approach. Here's a good example. So if you're into craft beer, you might recognise this as the Three Boys team locally. These guys are a customer for us, and so too are these lovely couple who we helped through our relationship with Canterbury Energy Action get some insulation in their home. But when you think of them and the way we need to interact with them, their expectations, how they'll see us truly deliver value, it's very different. We're trying to make sure that we get our head around that. One of the ways we're looking to do it is to make sure we shift as quickly as we possibly can into co-creation. So how do we involve these groups of customers in the decisions we're making? So not making technology decisions. Yes, that's important and that's part of it, but are we really sure that we've got the right people in that process and we understand at the end of what we'll deliver, that it will actually deliver customer value? Because that leads to this very important element called trust. We're ultimately looking to build trust with our customers, because trust will lead to preference and promotion. And those things are important for us. And there's this element of social engineering. It's easy to think of social engineering in a reasonably negative context where somebody sneaks your password off you, etc. But actually, there's some really positive elements to social engineering too. And if we're able to build a community in which they trust us, I think we can take some steps that will help people, or that we can help influence the types of decisions that people will make. And here's an example. So just to imagine again that we wake up tomorrow morning and these things are just everywhere. And everybody in every street wants one of those chargers in their garage. Well, I think you guys will all know that that's a challenge for most of us, certainly is for Orion. However, there's a pretty straightforward solution. And the straightforward solution is the machine. Because if you think about it, if you know the persona of everybody who's an EV driver, you know the status of every car, you know what they'll need tomorrow, you can just let the machine work that out. And overnight, you would hope by shuffling the charging around across the network, everybody wakes up in the morning and has got in their EV tomorrow exactly what they want. The key element is trust. So actually, will our customers trust us to get that right? It's just one example. But if you're in a scenario where you are mistrusting, then you're going to find that actually this is not an option people want to take on because they're pretty sure we're going to get it wrong. And we tested this. If anyone visited EV World last year, we tested it using this little scenario here. These little columns represent how much somebody would be prepared to save if we were to take over that scenario of managing charging in a network. And without getting too technical about it, the answer is actually we've still got some work to do. We're doing things like this at Orion. You may have seen this on the road. This is the Orion EV experience in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce and ICA. We've put a couple of these vehicles on the road. And if you're a Chamber of Commerce member, you can sign up and take one for a week into your business. And the reason we're doing that is we're doing it to build an audience. We want to have an audience that we can have a conversation about what they're thinking in terms of getting EVs into business so that we can understand what those charging requirements might look like in the future and how we can work with our customers, in this case, business customers, to think about how we co-create solutions that work. It's important to remember that building trust isn't about the product. Because increasingly, and if you have a look at what challenged CEOs globally in 2019, in that list is finding ways to get customers to connect to the purpose of organizations. So thinking about mission, purpose, impact, how do I connect my customers with that? That is a challenge that globally CEOs have got on their plate. And at Orion, we're certainly thinking about the impact we have in the community that we serve. And here's an example of the way we're doing it. This is Pip, she's our sustainability lead at work, and in those workshops I talked about earlier, this is Pip using the UN sustainability goals to test what's important with our customers and then to ask them which of those they think Orion can most influence. And for us, it's the full range. So we're talking about social, environmental, financially, etc. Because we've worked out in Orion that we've got two significant roles to play in this space. One is that we need to make sure that we've got our own shop in order. But as you'll know, there's a really important role for electricity to play in helping others get their shop in order by, for example, decarbonising. Here's an example. Buskers Festival sponsor. Last year at the Buskers Festival in town, a few generators burnt 5,000 litres of diesel. We've worked up with them this year a change in our network configuration in town to make sure we can accommodate them on an old site. And we've formed a relationship. It's good for them, it's good for the city, it's good for us, and it's a story we can tell our customers. So here's my message. Importantly, please make sure that you get beyond the technology. Make sure that you listen, understand, think about how you co-create value, and importantly, how you create impact, because that's what your customers will love. Any questions?